It started like any other day at the busy restaurant, with servers rushing to keep up and customers enjoying their meals. Among them was a young waitress, Keisha, known for her warm smile and professionalism. But her shift took a turn when she encountered a customer whose words weren't just rude, they were openly demeaning and laced with prejudice. Keisha handled the situation with remarkable grace, even as the man's cruel remarks grew louder, drawing uncomfortable stares from nearby tables. Unbeknownst to the customer, someone else in the restaurant was paying close attention, the CEO of the company, seated quietly in the corner. What happened next was something no one could have predicted. The CEO's actions weren't just a response, they were a statement, one that left everyone in the room stunned. Stay tuned to find out how a moment of hate turned into a powerful story of justice and courage. Keisha had been working at the restaurant for years, always going above and beyond to make sure customers left with a smile. She had dealt with difficult people before, but this customer was different. His words weren't just harsh. They were filled with contempt that seemed to cut deeper with every remark. Other diners began to shift uncomfortably, their whispers filling the air as they watched the scene unfold. Still, Keisha held her ground, her professionalism unwavering despite the growing tension. What no one realized was that the man sitting near the corner window wasn't just another diner. He was the CEO of the entire restaurant chain, visiting unannounced to see how his staff were doing. From his table, he observed everything: the cruel remarks, Keisha's composure, and the way other employees tried to quietly support her. His face remained calm, but behind his eyes, a decision was forming, one that would soon leave everyone speechless. As the man's hateful words escalated, Keisha continued to serve him with quiet strength. She smiled politely, refilled his glass, and brought his food as if the insults didn't sting. But anyone watching could see the strain in her eyes. Behind the counter, her co-workers whispered among themselves, torn between stepping in and fearing it might make things worse. One server, Miguel, who had worked alongside Keisha for years, clenched his fists in frustration. "She doesn't deserve this," he muttered under his breath. But before anyone could act, the CEO silently stood up and walked toward the manager, speaking in a low voice that only the two of them could hear. The manager nodded, his expression a mix of surprise and urgency, before disappearing into the kitchen. Meanwhile, the customer remained oblivious, smugly sipping his drink as if he had won some unspoken battle. Little did he know, something was about to happen that would flip the entire situation on its head. The restaurant buzzed with a tense energy as the situation unfolded. Keisha continued working, but her smile faltered ever so slightly, the weight of the man's constant insults wearing her down. Across the room, the CEO remained calm but watchful, his presence still unnoticed by most. The manager returned from the kitchen, glancing nervously between the CEO and Keisha. He whispered something to Miguel, who nodded and quickly rallied the rest of the team. They began moving with purpose, their actions subtle but deliberate, as if preparing for something big. The customer, still unaware of the eyes on him, leaned back in his chair with a smirk, clearly satisfied with his behavior. But the murmurs among the other diners were growing louder, and the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Then, the CEO stood up and slowly made his way toward Keisha's station, his expression unreadable. Every eye in the room turned toward him, and the tension was almost unbearable. Something was about to happen, and no one could predict how it would end. The CEO reached Keisha's station, but instead of speaking directly to her, he turned toward the customer. The room fell silent, every diner holding their breath as the CEO calmly introduced himself. The man froze, his smug demeanor replaced by a flicker of discomfort. "Is there a problem here?" the CEO asked, his voice steady but firm. For a moment, the customer stammered, caught off guard. Then, in an attempt to save face, he muttered something about poor service and waved his hand dismissively. But before he could continue, the CEO raised his hand, silencing him. "I've been sitting here long enough to see what's really happening," he said. His words carried weight, and the entire restaurant leaned in, hanging on every syllable. Keisha looked up in shock, her professionalism slipping for the first time as she realized the man's true identity. Just as the tension seemed ready to break, the CEO gestured toward the kitchen. Moments later, Miguel and the other servers emerged, each carrying trays, not of food, but of envelopes, placing one in front of every customer. A murmur spread through the room as people opened them, revealing unexpected contents. Whatever was inside had everyone whispering, their expressions shifting from curiosity to astonishment. The customer, however, didn't even open his envelope. Instead, he glared at the CEO, his discomfort turning into anger. But before he could speak, the CEO's calm voice cut through the noise. "You've just disrespected the very people who make this place what it is, and now there are consequences." The air felt electric, and no one could look away, wondering what those consequences would be. The room went still as the CEO turned to face the customer directly. "This establishment thrives because of people like Keisha," he said, his tone sharp but controlled. "What you've done today isn't just disrespectful, it goes against everything we stand for." He gestured toward the envelope in front of the man. "Open it." Reluctantly, the customer ripped it open, his arrogance giving way to nervous curiosity. Inside was a letter, simple yet powerful. It explained the restaurant's zero-tolerance policy for discrimination and harassment and concluded with a declaration. The man was permanently banned from all locations. As he read, his face turned red, a mix of embarrassment and rage. Before he could respond, the CEO added, "Your behavior has consequences. Now it's time for you to leave." Miguel stepped forward with quiet authority, ready to escort the man out. The other diners clapped softly, their support for Keisha unmistakable. But just when it seemed the moment had reached its peak, the CEO did something unexpected. He turned to Keisha and handed her a second envelope. Confused, she opened it, revealing a handwritten note and something that made her gasp: a promotion to management, along with a bonus as recognition for her grace under pressure. The room erupted in applause, and for the first time that day, Keisha's smile was wide and genuine. As the man stormed out, defeated, the CEO addressed the restaurant. "Let this serve as a reminder. Respect is not optional here. Our team deserves nothing less." The customers nodded in agreement, their faith in the restaurant and humanity restored. Keisha stood tall, her confidence renewed, as the day that started with hate ended with a powerful message of justice and integrity. As the commotion settled, the restaurant returned to its usual rhythm, but the atmosphere was different, warmer, lighter, and filled with a sense of unity. Customers approached Keisha, offering kind words and encouragement, while her co-workers rallied around her, their pride in her shining through. Keisha's promotion felt like a turning point, not just for her career, but for everyone who had witnessed the day's events. The CEO stayed a little longer, ensuring Keisha was okay and speaking quietly with the staff before leaving. "This isn't just about running a restaurant," he told them. "It's about creating a space where everyone feels valued." His words lingered, resonating deeply with the team. By the end of her shift, Keisha felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. What started as a humiliating encounter had become a powerful reminder of her worth. Walking out that evening, she knew one thing for sure: she wasn't just a waitress. She was someone who made a difference, and today, the world saw it too.